All right, friends, this is not going to be a fun video. I'm going to start off by saying that we're simply going to be going through talking about some of these elections. I want to go through the Senate elections right now. I'm going to give you some updates on them, give you my opinions on them, and yeah, we'll see how some predictions, see how right I am. So the first election that we're going to go after here is the Senate election in Arizona. Blake Masters versus Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly, you might remember, the Democrat. He's the incumbent currently right now. He also is married to Gabby Giffords, who was the woman who was shot in Arizona by that crazed gunman, Jared something or other. I want to say Lofter, but I might be wrong. So right now it says Mark Kelly is up by 1.5 points. That's he's gone down in average. Okay, these are the last polls right here. You can see right here. At one point he had a sizable, 6-point lead, something like that. That has changed. He's gone from a 6 to a 4 to very close right now, 1.5 point race. Now, Real Clear Politics has it as a GOP pickup. Right now, they have it ranking as a toss-up. I do think Mark Kelly's going to win this. I think he's a decent candidate. I don't like him, obviously, but I think he's a decent candidate. But we will see. Nevada, going to Nevada right now. We have Laxalt versus Cortez Masto. Right now, Laxalt's up by 1.2 points. They have it ranked as a toss-up, but they have a projection as a GOP pickup. This is interesting. I do think that Adam Laxalt is going to win this race. It's sort of surprising. I didn't think that he was a great candidate, but we know that this state is not a. It's a more recent kind of blue state. So this is a state that could easily convert back to Republican. A lot of people are moving here from California, and it's not the liberals that are moving from California to this state. So at some point here, it looks like in September, these two polls change. So we had Masto up by like 1.7%, and then that flipped to Laxalt up by 1, and then that not percent. I'm sorry, points. And then that continued to grow. That lead did to 1.6, 2.2 points, 2.1, 1.6, 1.7, and it's gotten close again here, only up 0.3, but now we're starting to see some more separation. I do believe Laxalt will win this race, but we will see. Hopefully, right? We can hope. Pennsylvania, my home state, the state that I live in, I should say. Fetterman is slightly up in the RCP average by 0.3 points. Now, this is a race that is I believe was Pat Toomey that is leaving Senate, retiring or whatever. Yeah, Pat Toomey. And so you got Dr. Oz versus John Fetterman here. Okay, now this is an interesting race. Polls still have Fetterman up. Some polls have Oz up, newer polls. But this race has gotten a lot closer. If you look here back in July and into August, really, right in the beginning of this race, right after Fetterman's stroke, though, they had Fetterman up by 8.7. Now that's changed. Okay, so 7.5, 6.8. We get to let's just go to the end of September here. Okay, September 28th, and it's Fetterman by 4.4, 4.1. You get to mid-October here by 3.2. And look how close we are now. Fetterman's up by 0.3 in the average. Now, they have this race as a toss-up. They have it as a GOP hold. I'm concerned in this race because of the early voting. I believe that Oz will destroy Fetterman on voting day. I believe very strongly that we need to get people out there to vote big time in this one. I do not see how Fetterman could possibly be in the Senate. It's sad, but I don't see it. The problem that Oz has too, and I'll point this out, that a lot of people vote down ballot. I'd say probably most people do, right? So the problem is that Mastriano's a terrible candidate. Shapiro's up 8, as you can see over here, on Mastriano. I don't think there's any way Mastriano wins that race. I'm going to vote for him. I don't like it, but I'm going to vote for him. I made a video justifying that, a couple days ago. If you want to look back at that, but that could bring Oz's vote total down, significantly, and that does scare me a bit with this as well. I don't see it as a GOP hold. We'll see, though. It's going to be very, very close. Georgia, interesting race. You got Raphael Warnock versus Herschel Walker. Obviously, Herschel Walker of football fame. Right now, you have Warnock up, or I'm sorry, Walker up by 0.6%. I mean, 0.6 points. This will probably go into runoff either way. There's certain rules in Georgia where if a candidate doesn't get over 50%, then it goes to a runoff, and then that way it's just the two major candidates there, and then people kind of pick based on that. Walker keeps having he just keeps getting destroyed over and over again by different scandals. It's sad. It's unfortunate. I mean, his son's now, gone against him. It's unfortunate this dude's stuff is getting out there. I mean, the dude's a little nuts. Okay. I think he's probably a decent guy. I do want to see him win. Warnock, I believe, is evil. I think that, any reverend that can support abortion is pretty evil. Okay. And that's who he is, right? He's running Dr. Martin Luther King's church right now. I don't think Dr. Martin Luther King would be a trans activist, and I don't think Dr. Martin Luther King would have supported abortion, but that's just me. This race has gotten weird. Okay, you got Warnock up, significantly, and then all of a sudden that flips for a brief period, and then they run neck and neck. Okay, and then all of a sudden you see again Warnock start to lead, insane by 5 points, and now it's starting to come together again. You actually have Walker up for the first time, so we'll see. I don't know. I know that this is a good example of Brian Kemp, leading that ticket. He's beating Stacey Abrams by 10 points, which is crazy. That being said, he could carry Herschel Walker across the finish line. I do believe Walker will win this one, and I do believe that Brian Kemp will have a lot to do with it. Hopefully, the runoff doesn't go the wrong way, though. Okay, New Hampshire. This is an interesting one. Okay, so New Hampshire was, last I heard about New Hampshire, there was no shot at all. Okay. It's got closer and closer. Okay, you have Don Bolduc versus Maggie Hassan. Maggie Hassan barely won in 2016. Okay, and this was a Republican state by 23 points, as you can see, in 2010. All right, Hassan's been leading the polls for sure. Right now, it's ranked as a toss-up, but the governor of New Hampshire, it will be Republican, I assume. So it's gotten a lot closer. I don't see us pulling it out, but if there was one upset, then this would be it. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know. You can tell RCP is trying to lean Republican as much as they can, just because they're past and being wrong and stuff like that. And if they say that it's going to be a Dem hold, then it's probably going to be a Dem hold, but we'll see. North Carolina, I don't even know if it's worth talking about. You have Butt up by 4.5 points. It leans GOP, should be a GOP hold, should be a problem. The race has sort of been like this. It got real close. I guess they're back in September, but there should not be a problem. But Bud should take that, no problem, but we'll see. Okay, get into some more interesting ones. Wisconsin has Mandela Barnes facing Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson is the incumbent. Ron Johnson looked for a while like he might have something to worry about. Mandela Barnes is an extreme candidate. He's a racist, Black Lives Matter, extremist, and it would have been scary for him to win that race for Wisconsin. That being said, Johnson is up in the polls right now. For a while, as you can see here, you had Barnes up by 4.5 points. Okay, and then that in September switched, and now you have Johnson up by 3 points. Assuming that polls trend the way that they do, the GOP should hold this no problem, but we will see. I hate to say it, I don't want to jinx it. You know what I'm saying? Ohio, JD Vance against Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan's a good candidate. It really is, but Ohio has got more Republican. JD Vance is famous for making the documentary and writing the book Hillbilly Elegy. Check it out. I have not. But Tim Ryan is a good Democrat candidate. I wouldn't vote for him, but he is a good Democrat candidate. This is a Republican seat right now. Yeah. So right now we have JD Vance up by a couple points. Hopefully it stays that way. They rank it as a GOP hold. I agree. It's probably going to be a GOP hold. I would hope that it would be, but we will see. Colorado. Okay, this one is a Democrat. Yeah, I mean, it says lean Democrat. I mean, it's not. I don't think there's a chance that John O'Day wins here, but you never know what can happen. I guess the polls have tightened a little bit, by very little bit, I guess. Not it's been pretty consistent though. 8.6 points to 9 points, and now we've tightened to 7.5 points. So I don't think there's any chance that Joe O'Day. I said John O'Day. Look at this. See how much I looked into this race. Colorado's become a blue state, over the last several election cycles. So it is what it is. Washington State. This is an interesting one, though. This is definitely an interesting one. So the reason why it's interesting is because I never thought that it'd be as close as it is now. The governor's race is even closer, I believe. But it's not one that we're going to win. It's right now it says leans Democrat. Polls have gotten a little bit closer. I don't think there's any chance that we win this one, but it's just interesting to see that even in a state like Washington, that there would be that there would be a Republican able to pull within 10 points of the Democrat Senate. So, but Washington will be a Democrat hold. Florida. Florida shouldn't be a problem. You got Marco Rubio against Val Demings. Rubio's up 7.5 points. At one point, they were saying that Rubio had a chance to lose to Demings, and you can see in the polls here, they had tightened within 2.3 points. But Ron DeSantis is a great candidate for governor. He should be able to carry Rubio if Rubio wasn't able to carry himself, but Rubio should be able to carry himself in that race. And finally, we have Connecticut, which I think we all know what that's going to be. Connecticut is going to, it says lean Democrat. It doesn't lean Democrat. Connecticut is a Democrat state, right? Richard Blumenthal has been in the business for a long time. I will say again, it's interesting. Okay. You see, back in 2010, Blumenthal wins by 11.5 points. But last 2016, he won by 29 points. Okay. I don't know how much of a challenge he had, but you can see here he's his polls are closing, tighter, definitely, than they were, but you don't have much risk. Like they don't even chart it out because it's so ridiculous. Okay. All right. So that's what we got. Those are the top Senate races. All right. We're not going to go through any more. I will say that there's just one interesting thing I want to point out here, that for governor races, this is what scares me about Pennsylvania. God, come on, man. What scares me about Pennsylvania is that Mastriano is so far behind Shapiro. It's tightened a little bit. I mean, it was tightest, I guess, around. It never really got that tight, I guess, right here. Around August. Oh, sorry, ads playing. It was the tightest around August. We've now come a long way since then. This is what concerns me about the Fetterman thing, though, is that if people are voting down ballot, they vote for Josh Shapiro, they could just mark off that vote for Fetterman too, especially if they don't know about the stroke thing. And the only other governor's race I want to point out is the New York governor's race, because how close it is crazy. Right now they have Hochul up by 6.1, but you're seeing some polls come out where Lee Zeldin is in the win. So I mean it's weird. This is something that hasn't been pulled enough, I think. But you can see how close they're pulling. Kathy Hochul's a nut job. There's no reason why she should win, even in that state, but it is New York City, so I'm sure she will. All right, thank you guys. Have a great night.